Hello, sixth graders. Welcome to lesson 13.4, Measures of Variability. A measure of variability is a single value used to describe how spread out a set of data values are. The mean absolute deviation is a measure of variability, and we took a look at mean absolute deviation in the last lesson. So this first problem is a review problem. In gym class, the students recorded how far they could jump. The data set below gives the distances in inches that Manuel jumped. What is the mean absolute deviation of the data set? So we need to start by finding the mean of the data set. So we're going to add all of his jumps and get a total of 342 inches. 342. And there are 6 points of data. So his mean is 57 inches. Now that we found that, we can find the distances between the data values and the mean. So 57 is 1 unit away from 58, 1 unit, 2 units, 3 units, and 2 units away. We'll add up all of our distances and get 12. And there are 6 data points, so the mean absolute deviation of the data is 2 inches. All right, moving on to the next topic. Range, you might be familiar with range, you've also heard it with median and mode, is the difference between the greatest value and the least value in the data set. An interquartile range is the difference between the upper and lower quartile of a data set. Range and interquartile range are also measures of variability. Again, how spread out data is. So when we're looking for, when we're talking about weight, let's say we'll compare the heaviest item to the lightest item. The range between those tells us how spread out those weights are of the items that we're measuring. So in this problem, the box plot shows the price in dollars of the handheld game players at 2 different electronic stores. Find the range and interquartile range of each data set, then compare the variability of the prices of the handheld game players at the 2 stores. So let's focus at store A, and we are going to find the range, which is the most expensive handheld game, and compare it to the least expensive handheld game at store A. So that's where 150 and 24 come in. And when we subtract 150 from 24, we get 126. So the range is 126. Now we're going to look at the interquartile range and do the same thing, but now we're going to focus on the interquartiles. So we have the greatest, the upper quartile, and subtract it from the lower quartile. So that's where 72 and 48 come in. When we subtract those, we get 24. So the interquartile range for store A is 24. We'll do the same thing for store B. 120 is the most expensive game, and the cheapest game there is 30. So we'll do 120 minus 30 and get 90. So here's the range. And now we're going to focus on the interquartile range. So the upper, 100, minus the lower, which is 42, and get 58 as our interquartile range. So now we're going to be comparing the range and then the interquartile range. So store A has a greater range than store B, but store B has a greater interquartile range. So what does that all mean? It means that the most expensive and the least expensive handheld games varies more at store A than at store B. Most of their games are not as far, and as far as prices, away from the cheapest to the most expensive. But when we're referring to the interquartile range, if you look at store A, and we know that there's the median, which is 52, and over here it's 68, and I look at the upper and lower quartiles, that tells me at store A the prices of games are closer to the median, so they're closer in prices. then versus store B, where the median is 68, and you've got the lower quartile is 42 and 100. So their prices vary more than store A because of how spread out they are. So at store A, most of the games are around the same price, except for our least expensive and our most expensive, whereas store B, their prices range greatly as far as cheap to expensive, and then even the ones in the middle vary greatly in their price compared to store A. All right, here is your one practice problem. I want you to find the range and then find the interquartile range using this set of data. All right, enjoy the rest of your day.